My boss stole my million-dollar idea and presented it as his own. So, for the final board meeting, I secretly replaced his presentation file with his daughter's college rejection letter that he'd been hiding from the family. For 6 months, Project Nightingale was my entire life. I poured every late night, every weekend, every ounce of my creativity into it. It was a revolutionary concept, the kind of idea that could redefine our entire industry. When I finally presented it to my boss, Mr. Thompson, my hands were shaking with a mixture of nerves and pride. He watched my presentation with a blank, unreadable expression. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and sighed. "It's ambitious," he said, the word dripping with condescension. "A little rough around the edges. You're a junior analyst after all. Send me the files. I'll see if there's anything salvageable." My heart sank, but I did as he asked. That was my first mistake. A week later, an all-company email went out. It was an announcement for the annual Innovation Summit, where the board would award a $50,000 bonus to the employee with the most groundbreaking idea of the year. The headline presenter? Mr. Thompson for his bold new initiative, Project Skylark. I couldn't breathe. It was my project. My Nightingale. He'd just given it a different name. I stormed into his office, the email pulled up on my phone. "This is my idea," I said, my voice trembling with a rage I could barely contain. He didn't even have the decency to look guilty. He just smirked. "Your idea was a starting point. I'm the one who put in the work to make it a reality. That's how the corporate world works. You should be grateful you got to contribute." He leaned forward, his smile vanishing. "And if you're smart, you'll keep that contribution to yourself. It would be a shame to lose such a promising young employee over a misunderstanding." The threat was clear. My dream, my hard work, my future, he'd stolen it all in one fell swoop. I felt utterly powerless. That weekend, my powerlessness turned into an opportunity. The Thompsons were going out of town and they asked me to house sit. They trusted me completely. His wife even called me the daughter they never had. The irony was sickening. On Saturday night, while watering his plants, I walked past his home office. The door was ajar. Curiosity got the better of me. Inside, sitting on top of the trash bin, was a crumpled, official-looking envelope. It was a rejection letter. His daughter, Emily, had been rejected from her dream school, the one he'd been bragging for months she was a shoo-in for. Suddenly, a memory clicked into place. The Innovation Summit was a family event. His wife and daughter would be in the front row, watching him accept his award for my idea, beaming with pride for their perfect husband and father, a man who was lying to them all. And a plan began to form in my mind, a cold, quiet, and beautifully simple plan. The night before the summit, I let myself into the office using the spare key he'd given me for emergencies. I went straight to his desk. Just as I suspected, his presentation was on a backup USB drive, tucked neatly into the top drawer. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding in my chest. I swapped his file with a high-resolution scan of Emily's rejection letter. The next morning, the main conference hall was buzzing. The CEO was there. The entire board was seated at a long table on the stage, and just as I'd pictured, his wife and daughter were in the front row, their faces glowing with pride. Emily kept whispering to her mom, pointing at her dad as he made his way to the podium. Mr. Thompson stood there, soaking in the applause. He looked directly at me in the back of the room and gave me a smug, dismissive wink. He inserted the USB drive into the laptop. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice smooth and confident. "Today, I'm not just presenting an idea. I'm presenting the future." He clicked the remote to advance to his title slide, but it wasn't his title slide that appeared on the massive screen behind him. It was the letterhead of the university. And then, the first line, projected for the entire company to see, "We regret to inform you." A confused murmur rippled through the crowd. Mr. Thompson froze, his face draining of all color. He frantically clicked the remote, but each click just revealed the next line of the letter, a brutal, step-by-step destruction of his daughter's dream. I watched Emily's face crumble. Her mother turned to her husband, her expression shifting from pride to horrified confusion. "What is this?" she mouthed. He couldn't speak. He just stood there, clicking and clicking, trapped in a nightmare of his own making. The CEO finally broke the silence. "Thompson, what in the world is going on?" That was my cue. I stood up from my seat in the back. "I can explain," I said, my voice clear and steady. The entire room turned to look at me. "It seems that's not the only thing Mr. Thompson has been hiding." I held up another USB drive. "And this," I said, looking straight at him, "is the presentation he stole from me." I didn't stay to watch the rest. I just placed my employee ID on an empty chair, turned around, and walked out, leaving him to the sound of his daughter's sobs and a silence more damning than any accusation I could have ever made.